Welcome to Money Convos, where we discuss personal finance and investment tips. We are committed to helping people create wealth and achieve financial freedom. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. Alright then, let's head into today's conversation.
Hello everyone, welcome to today's conversation. Nana, hi Edem, can you hear me?
Yes, hello Elikem, I can hear you.
Wonderful. Charlie, how you doing, bro?
Very good, by God's grace. Yourself?
I'm good. They say winter is coming, so is it Wednesday or so we'll get some showers of snow.
Okay.
I'm not here. Yes, I think yesterday or was it Friday? I think Friday was the last day of the sunlight. But yesterday I caught some glimmers of sunshine here and there. But from this day onward, forward ever into the cold. It's like the Game of Thrones. Winter is coming. Anyway,
it is well.
Charlie. All right. So today, dear, you are on show for today's conversation.
Yeah, I know.
So our audience may be wondering what we are talking about. Every now and then we have a segment we call My Money Story, where we invite somebody to talk about their perspectives on money, their experiences with money, so that we can humanize the things that we learn and see what people are going through. Hopefully we can relate to one or two things that will be said. In the past, we've had Deborah. We tried to have Doris some time back. So today we are having Edem. And you may wonder, but we heard so much about Edem. But someone brought it to my attention that even though we are regular speakers on Money Convos, and yes, we share our perspectives every now and then, it would be good to have it all in like one coherent form so that you get the full story from one person's perspective. So yeah, today we are honored to have Edem. Edem is a surveyor and a financial literacy enthusiast. He's unlike most of us whose professions is actually to be a financial advisor or a fund manager. Edem has his main job, but I think since you're in university, right? Since university, you've been interested in finance.
Right after.
Okay, so this was like in the 70s, 80s there. I'm just messing with you. It's the beard, it's the gray beard that is deceiving me. Anyway, so yeah, since right after uni, Edem has been interested in financial literacy. He's taking the Ghana Securities Industries courses, and a few other finance courses. So it's not just he's interested, but he's actually pursued an education, even though it's not his professional career. All right. So Edem, perhaps to get us started, if there's anything about you that I haven't said that you want people to know right off the bat before we enter the conversation, maybe you wanna give us an intro from your own perspective.
Okay, so good evening, Elikem, and thanks for putting me on the hot seat today. It's an honor. So at least today I'm not the one asking or helping to ask questions. Well, okay, so like you said, I'm not really like a finance person, or I didn't go to school necessarily to study finance, but I'm a quantity surveyor by profession. I work in construction and then project management, basically. And and like you said, I got very much interested in financial literacy and personal finance issues, basically because of my experience in university. I was always broke, so I decided that let me go and find out what it means what's all this issue about money and how do we deal with it, and that's what led me to be curious. And then I pursued the Ghana Stock Exchange course. At the time, it was hosted by the Ghana Stock Exchange. That was I think in 2014, and that's opened another segment of my life. And that same year too, I started an investment club, and that's through that, we spent time to learn and study about finance and personal finance related issues. So basically, yeah, that's the summary.
That's interesting. We'll get into this investment club later in the conversation. To break the ice, I'm just curious. Can you tell us something random or surprising about yourself that no one would guess?
I've just been
Fun
wondering.
facts.
Yeah, well, I can do 50 push-ups at a time.
Hey!
Yeah, so
you mean you go and rest for 1 hour and come back and continue?
no, I can do it I can do it at a go.
50 non-stop.
I'm telling you.
How did this start? Like, why? What got you to say this is an achievement? This is something you must be able to do.
Lots of people can't do. I couldn't do 10.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, and I could barely do 10 at a go, and it seemed embarrassing. So,
okay. Now I'm motivated. Because the thing I'm supposed to be doing on a daily it's a challenge. So right now they are motivated. If by the end of the year I reach half of what you've done, I think I've achieved something in life.
That would be an achievement.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So now when I'm doing my push-ups, is you I'll be thinking about. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So another question that I'm curious about your perspective. It's a question that dawned on me. I was talking to a friend and she worked so hard, makes certain sacrifices for work. And it got me thinking, you know what? Let me ask you this question, Edem. Why do you work so hard? Because I know that, Charlie, sometimes we talk to you, you're on a bus going to Kumasi, you're going here, you are going there, you are helping this, you are doing that. Every time, Charlie, making moves. So why do you work so hard?
Is there an alternative to working hard? I mean, for some of us, where we're coming from, our backgrounds are not, we would not call ourselves privileged. We are coming from, middle, yes. People would think we are privileged, but we've also seen people who are privileged. I know I've been in class with trust fund kids and all of that. So you think about what future you want to have for yourself and your children, and the fact that our parents made some sacrifices to get us the kind of life we had, which we knew we didn't have everything. So that's also motivating me to also do better, because I quite remember one example. I was those times, I think in Jesus, my dad was taking me to work, and he was taking me to school. He was driving me, and then we saw this man with a child on the bicycle, and then he told me that that's how his dad used to take him to school. And now he's taking me to school in a pickup. So he ended it there. And I just got the message that it then meant that for me, my children will have to be in a better place than he has put me in. Yeah.
You have to go in a helicopter.
Probably.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. What you just said about what your father told you. This is a clear example of when they say a word to the wise. It's in the north. The word to the wise is enough. So yeah. Okay, that's interesting. All right. So sticking to your past, right? What was your family? How has your family background shaped your financial decisions?
Yeah, I think it has shaped it to a very large extent, because I grew up in a house where everything had to sort of, when you are going to buy stuff, Daddy will ask you to bring your list. My mom is always on your neck ahead of time. Like, they don't like to be taken by surprise. So I think that generally fed into how I also grew up, and then with my relationship with money. I always realized that there was always the refrain that there's not enough money. So you needed to always plan. You needed to always be ahead of the curve. I mean that's the term they use now. To always be ahead. So you are always being told that if we need to get this, then we need to start planning for it ahead of time. You understand? So that kind of thing basically had been part and parcel of me right from JSS, SHS, and then all of that. So you had this kind of a lot of things you wanted. Oh no, let it wait. Not today. Maybe next time. That kind of feeling. But yeah, all that fed into how I grew up. So I always realized that if I needed to do something, I have to plan ahead, and that fed into how I grew up and how I basically do things now.
That's interesting. And I'm just thinking about how it seems planning is a consistent theme in what you said. Sometimes people say, "Oh, this person, because they're an accountant, they behave in a certain way." But I think some people's nature draws them to the kind of career that they are in. And as you just explained, all this about planning ahead of time and estimating costs, I think I understand. Is that the reason why you chose to be a quantity surveyor?
Interestingly, I didn't even know there was even a profession called quantity surveyor until I was choosing. My courses. I only chose courses in tech. The only school I decided I was going to was tech, and the only thing that was on my mind was to be a civil engineer. So I was lost when I realized I had to choose 4 courses. And so it was my brother who said, "Oh, you know what? His pastor is a quantity surveyor and he's working at highways. So it's quite close to the BT thing. Civil engineering thing." I said, "Oh, is that so? Okay." So I just put it there as second choice with no intention whatsoever that that's what I was going to do. And then when the admissions came, I realized I didn't make it into civil engineering and I landed in BT with so much disappointment. But by the time the course was done, I was one of the happiest people because that course was so nice for me and everything. And it seemed to fit within the kind of way, a manner in which I like to do things, planning, thinking ahead, and there was calculations. Me, I like numbers. So once it was all about calculations, I was fine. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's nice. It's just interesting how an unexpected turn fell right in your wheelhouse. So that's interesting. And again, back to your family. Like, how big is your family, the nuclear family, and how involved are you with the extended family?
Oh, nuclear family. We are not. It's not a very large family. I have 3 brothers and a sister. So, and my extended family, well, on my mother's side, we're a bit more involved with them because in the early stages of our lives, we lived with my grandmother, so as in my maternal grandmother, so that side of the family, my aunties from that side and all of that. So a bit more involved. It was moving forward a bit that I got involved with my father's side of the family more. But I don't remember the last time I traveled to the village. If that's the next question.
Don't worry, we won't put you on the spot like that. But yeah, it's also interesting that you just said that it's not a big nuclear family, but that's five children right there. Especially in this economy, 5 children per year is a big family. Oh. And
I'm not from the Gen Z, so you should understand.
okay. Mom. My father had about 30 siblings that we know of. So I think yes, your 5 is quite a small family. Anyway, yeah, but thinking about your family and the extended family especially, how have you managed the financial demands of your extended family? Another way to think about it is, the black tax. How has it affected you?
Well, sometimes I've had to GI. the black tax is real, but even my immediate family now, dynamics have changed because now both parents are retired. So that's already in itself. And within Ghana, our retirement is not so, the structures are not so good like that. So definitely as children, you'd have to come in. So the extended family, people, you have cousins and one or two uncles and things coming by. But as much as possible, for some time now in particular, for some few years now, I've kind of been not too involved. So you don't have a lot of people bringing in demands. But for the immediate, I have in my mind, I have an immediate external family before the external family. So the immediate one, some maybe first cousins and uncle, like immediate uncles and aunties. Yeah, we deal with them as and when. But generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, the very extended family, I'm not too much involved in their issues.
Oh, okay. That's cool. So you don't have to worry about some of your great aunties, brothers, sisters, cousin has gone to swallow a blade. Less of that. And if it happens, you JI. Okay. That's cool.
Basically, that is one of the fights that my mom has with me. So, but we are managing that one.
The way you've been ignoring those kind of things, she has a problem with that.
Of course, you say, we don't do things like that. We are not like that. Like you say, this is family. Oh, if something happens to one person, we all have to show up. And sometimes the person who is dead, we don't even know the person. But you are expected that we should contribute and be there. So at least the little contribution I can do, I do. But now presence power, because the energy stuff is not there nowadays to be able to attend all these programs and then be able to attend to all your personal needs too. It's becoming impossible to do. Wow. So when you get to a certain point, when you hear, this one, okay, then we move on.
When you talk to the family, you greet them for me, that kind of thing. Instead of going all the way. Okay. I see. It's good to know your perspective and how you manage those things. I'm sure a lot of people are facing some of these challenges, facing pressure. Like you said, that's not how we do things. The OGs are hearing this, and ideally, I wish the world was nice where we all had the capacity to help every single person who wanted our help. I really wish, but you said it's becoming difficult. It's becoming impossible. So we need to manage how we handle these issues. Speaking of people that we manage, how about your friends? Do you talk to your friends about money? How do you manage expectations with your peers?
Oh, yeah, my close friend. So, I mentioned the investment club, but before starting the investment club, there was an earlier one that actually was basically me and my friends, but we're 5 course mates that started. And, so within that team, we basically have always discussed money issues and everything, but yes, as a club, it didn't sustain so long because a few years after graduation, almost everybody was going out of the country to go and pursue a master's degree or something, and life happened. So we didn't, but that close circle is still there. Those are the people I can talk with about money issues and all of that and the way forward. And we come up sometimes even through share jobs amongst ourselves because we are basically classmates. We all study the same thing. So we link ourselves up with jobs and stuff like that. With other friends who basically are not within that circle, yes, almost anybody who has come in contact with me knows that I am an personal finance enthusiast, because there's no way you will be close to me and not hear about, you need to save, you need to invest, you need to plan for the future and all of those things. Yeah, so definitely that helps. Then another thing too is that, with expectations, because you always talk about money issues and stuff, people think you have like some huge stash of cash somewhere, and sometimes I don't know whether people just try to tempt you with some demands, but we move around it. Sometimes you just ask for wisdom to be able to handle some of these cases. Some people get offended, but you know what? You cannot really always be concerned about what people are thinking and expecting about you. Sometimes, you know what? You just have to, what can come, can come. That's the kind of attitude you should have sometimes. Yeah. So that is how I handle such pressure. Yeah.
That's interesting. People trying to improve yourself, trying to improve others, spreading the word. This matter has come up a couple of times on Monday Convos where people would think we have block somewhere, so they can come and ask. I understand their desires, but we also have to take care of our own and save that money for ourselves and the people around us. The hope is that as we teach people, they also become financially independent so that there'll be less reliance on a few people. Tough times, man. Tough times. Okay, great. At this point, let me take a pause and just remind anyone who is just joining. Today we are having a conversation about my money story with Edem. We want to hear Edem's perspective on money, how he's faced decisions all through his life, the kind of things that influence his choices up until this time, and even talking into the future. So yes, do stick around and hear perspectives. Maybe you are going through something, maybe you faced certain certain issues or certain decisions. You want to know how other people have thought through it. Maybe you and your friends don't have these kind of conversations. This is a good time to hear perspective from other people you can relate to. And hopefully this can help us all make better decisions into the future. So speaking of future decisions, Adam, we know that at this particular juncture, you're not yet married. So I'm curious, how has money influenced your decision to be single, and or how, as you think about whether you'll be married in future or not, and the timing and all those things, how does money fit into all those marriage related planning?
Oh, yeah. As for money, everything in our life, it affects. So definitely money is, how will I call it? Money issues play a big role in every aspect. Okay, but the fact that I'm not married now has really not much anything to do with money. That's one. It's it's beyond that. Okay. Then
you're trying to say that right now, if you bore, you can go and marry right now and you're fine on the money side.
That one no be problem like that though.
Oh, okay. Ladies out there, eligible bachelor in the building. Anyway, as you were saying.
Oh yeah, so basically, like you said, in taking decisions, even though it's not really the central issue about money, there are also issues to do with people talk about compatibility and all kinds of things, but there are also issues about conversations around money and planning towards marriage. How when we not leaving things to chance. And then even within the marriage, how is money going to be like, what is going to be our money philosophy as we journey through life together? All those are important things that definitely come to play. So there are some people who you might not be able to carry on the journey because money is going to become a thorny issue as you go. Even ordinary relationship, the people, they have money stress all the time. So imagine when you are married. So all of that plays a role. Yeah, but it is not like a determining factor in saying that, because I don't have money. So no, that's not it. Yeah.
So Edem, I'm curious about this. You say you talk to people about money, like people that you may be considering, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten some pushback from people to say, hey, Master, it's too early or we shouldn't be talking about money? Well, like we are not there yet, that kind of thing. Have you gotten that kind of pushback?
No. I think there are people who maybe generally the money conversation can be very uncomfortable, but not really having that kind of pushback. But generally, I've had issues with people where you've had the conversation, but you see that you differ starkly in your philosophy, and there doesn't seem to be a conversion point. I hope you understand that. So, but the pushbacks, not really about those conversations, they happen. And sometimes it's not like, we are sitting there and say, we are having money conversation today. No. In our general conversations, you are slipping in one or two things and then you are eliciting responses. And those are, for me, the most genuine response rather than the one that somebody feels like the person is being interviewed. Yeah.
I feel you. So you just slide it in the conversation. You're talking about something, or you slide it in there. And the person will say, I'm going to buy some Wego and it's 5,000 CDs. And then you slide it in there. Okay. I see you're comfortable.
You
You like spending 5,000 Ghana, 2 months salary of somebody, if not 3 months, 5 months salary of somebody on your head. Okay. Then you push that small. Okay, I see. That's interesting. And coming from you, right? I think it's more insightful hearing this because if people who've been listening to Money Convos quite often would know that I call you Bishop. You are quite active in church and you have a certain noble character. So I don't expect that the kind of people that you'll be talking to on that kind of level, you didn't put yourself in certain circles that I'll be putting myself in on a Friday night. You understand? So these people may be even good people. Like it's possible that you can actually meet good, decent people, but they don't have their money, their money in order, or they don't have their financial situation in order, right? It's not. I think it's not a point of chastisement, but ideally, Charlie, everyone would like to have somebody who is either at a stable point or on track to be stable, not somebody who has an entirely different, make money, spend money kind of a mentality, right? Have you met those kind of people before? Like good, decent people, but Charlie, what are some of the weird thoughts that or weird perceptions you've seen from about money from people who are actually good, decent people?
Well, weird perceptions. Like, some people feel that, well, that you only live once mantra. It's true, but sometimes the way people understand that you only live once, it's some way. So because of that, they throw caution to the wind. And for me, I'm a very particular careful person. So when I see people who are just not calculated risk takers, but just take any kind of risk or just live anyhow, it worries me a lot. They are very good people, even tongue speaking, demon chasing, but Charlie.
Hey, that matter is serious. The requirements for tongue speaking and demon chasing are different from financial stability requirements. Let's keep that in mind. Do I encourage those people to read the book of Proverbs though? But anyway, who am I? I'm but a mere mortal. Okay, all right. So keeping it moving, right? Again, like I think this topic so far we've been discussing a lot about the people we surround ourselves with. We've talked about family, extended family, friends, even romantic partners, right? You mentioned something about this investment club. I'm curious about it. Do you mind telling us a bit about it? Why you bothered to start and how the journey has been so far?
Okay, so the investment club is something that was so like on my heart for when I finished university. I said first attempt was myself with a number of my course mates. That didn't age well. So somewhere 2014, during a lecture at the Ghana Stock Exchange, it just hit me right there in the lecture hall that I needed to start something like that. So I just started with people who I knew. They were all younger than me in church. Okay. I know, Edwin. Edwin was one of them and a number of other people. I think Millionaire is also here. He's also one of them. And we started. And basically the idea was because I noticed that in our part of the world, we are disadvantaged. And the only way we could actually get out of this disadvantage or be able to get ahead of ourselves is if we pull ourselves together and pull ourselves along. Because one thing I wouldn't want is that, yes, I've achieved some kind of financial freedom or independence. Then all the people around me, today they need this, tomorrow they have this challenge and they are not able to help themselves. Okay, so the whole idea was that I needed people around at least my immediate circle to also be able to learn what I know, be able to apply themselves and start investing early. Then the reason I went for these particular people was that because they were all, even a number of them hadn't even yet gotten to university. And my experience with money in university was very bad. So I really wanted people to have a certain advantage that I didn't have, so that by the time they finish university, they will have at least some stack of money that they can point to and say, oh, by the time I finished uni, I have maybe 5,000 cedis in investments, or 6,000, 10,000 cedis in investment, or some form, because I came home from school in the negative. So I just thought that this wasn't right. I felt I needed these people to do. So we started together. We started to learn. We started to educate ourselves. We started to invest. I remember our first investments we did when they went to the bank. The teller almost returned them because they were buying treasury bill of 250 Ghana cedis. And it sounded very weird. But I told them that, no, we know what we are doing. Let's go ahead. And then next time we see, we are buying bonds in tens of thousands and stuff like that. So that's how we began. And it was like a gradual approach. One, to also teach them how to be able to do savings on a regular basis. And by God's grace, I think next year will be their 10th year. Yeah.
Wow. That's impressive. 10 years, Charlie. This is impressive. That kind of commitment, sticking to such a thing for a long time and seeing the growth from doing 250 in treasury bills to tens of thousands in treasury bonds, Charlie. People would normally want to see things in the millions, but not everything has to be in the millions and billions. Sometimes making progress from just a few hundreds to tens of thousands is a big deal. It's the difference between you and poverty. It's the difference between you and an emergency that will ruin you, So I like what you said about building that savings habit. And I know that with this, there are at least some people that you've helped, they know that they have some kind of financial cushion somewhere, if nothing at all. That's great, my brother. Clear example of rising by lifting others. That's nice. All right, so moving on, right? Let's talk about planning. You love planning, okay? Do you have a financial plan? And if you do, can you share some of the goals that you had, like from when you were starting out, like after university, and how your goals have changed, which of the goals you've achieved, that kind of thing. Let's see that journey.
Okay, so financial plan, yes, broadly speaking, I have a financial plan. I think when I started out, some of them were a bit ambitious, I bought into the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, we're hoping that maybe by 40, 45, we are retiring. Now we are revising our notes as our birthdays keep coming. We see that that be easy like that.
It be just your birthday matter. When you look in the mirror, you see the gray hairs.
Oh, the gray hair, please don't be deceived. So yeah, some of the initial goals, wanted to retire very early, wanted to be able to travel the world and all type of you. But as life, the interesting thing about a financial plan too is that, as you age or as you go on in life, things change, your circumstances change. So, and it's supposed to be a living document. So it's supposed to be something that changes along the line. So now, the time I started out on in this journey, my parents were actively working and everything. Now, whatever I'm planning has to include them too, because they are now retired. You understand? So that is a shift in it. And then, at the time I started, I wasn't even thinking about family and like in terms of myself settling down and family and all of that. That is not included. So at this stage of my life, that I'm beginning to think about, my family, my children. I'm not yet married. I don't yet have children, but I'm beginning to think in that direction compared to 10 years ago. You understand? So as for the financial plan, it evolves along the line. Okay. And then some of the things that I was able to do, yes, I wanted to do a master's. I was able to do it. I funded it myself. I paid for it myself. I didn't have to borrow money to do that. So I did that. It was quite expensive, but I did it by God's grace. So some of those are some of the plans I had in the past. I was able to do that. I also targeted having a 6 months emergency fund. I was able to achieve that. Now the target is to have 12 months of that. And also build a retirement fund, which is one I struggled with in the beginning. I know we'll come to something like that, but, and then some other specific funds. Okay. I think about my life as having different kinds of funds. So you remember sometimes I even mentioned an opportunity fund where you have money in that particular fund for good deals that come, and then you need money to be able to do that. That is one of the funds that currently I'm hoping to be able to establish for myself, so that you have this good deal, or maybe some good properties being sold at some bugger. Somebody is going to Japan, he needs to sell his house at lower than the market value, and you just take advantage and you buy it with that, because you can be able to flip it around and make a profit. So these are some of the things I think I'm thinking about. Currently setting up that kind of fund. That is not yet done, but it's something that is on the books. So these are some of just snippets of some of the things that I look out for, or I've been looking out for in the past, I've been achieving, and then I'm also looking forward into the future for.
That's interesting. These kind of funds where we think beyond the norm, right? Go beyond the existential, go beyond the emergency funds, and then think about the opportunity funds that you are talking about. But Edem, something peculiar about this, your financial goals. I'm not sure if it's about your nature, or I didn't see any Rolls Royce or any Patek Philippe watch or anything in these kind of goals, because some of us, dear, we like vanity too. We'll be doing the normal things, but or how are you different from it? Do you have no? In fact, tell me, do you have any material goals in your list of financial goals?
I think that's it too. This is what people always say. They say I'm too serious. Like, I think that's what you said. It's my nature is quite, and me too. My threshold, will I say is high or low? I don't even know how to explain this, what I wanted to say. But like, what I need to be happy in life is not too much. Just a little bit here and there, and I'm okay. I'm easily contented with a number of things. So Rolls Royce, it's a very beautiful car, but honestly, it's not something that is within me. Like, I don't think I've ever dreamed that I want to own a Rolls Royce. But if I get it Mompade, it would be a nice car to drive.
That's great. That's great. Just when you get it, just avoid Dankwa Circle. One of my biggest fears in life is that I'll be driving my Rolls Royce and I reach Dankwa Circle and some trotro just who doesn't respect the right of way as runabouts will just come and bash me. And no, that is the problem I have with owning Rolls Royce in Ghana. But anyway, when I'm rich, I can start having such a conversation.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
Until then, work hard. Anyway, still on the topic of planning, planning seems to resound throughout your story, your theme. Do you have a budget? And we've spoken about many types of budgets. How do you go about your budget?
Okay, so basically, yeah. Obviously, I can't be doing a number of things that I do without a budget. So I do. I use a spreadsheet. I remember sharing, the OM is here. I shared my spreadsheet with him and he just went bonkers. Yeah, so I use spreadsheets in budgeting, basically. Not really following any, like, it's quite a detailed budget, but it's something I've done over the years. So now sometimes I have just a fair idea of how the month runs, except when you have unique instances showing up. So because I've done it quite for some time, so it's like it's sort of like a setup, monotonous sort of thing. But as and when unique circumstances come up, then you tweak it to suit that circumstance. So basically, that's what I do. In setting that up, there was a period, I think how many years? About probably some 5 or 6 years or 7 years ago, when I started this particular way of budgeting. I had to spend time basically tracking my expenses for about 3 or 4 months, writing every single thing down before I was able to draft and then tweak the spreadsheet to match my lifestyle. So yes, I do that.
Okay, that's interesting. I remember that phase of like 3 or 4 months of budget tracking to set a baseline, right? It's a tough time, tough to keep these things in mind, but it's a good exercise that will stick with you, and that's the heavy lifting. Like you said, you just keep that as a baseline and you tweak it around every now and then. That's good. I hope someone out there listening can start practicing these simple things. You don't need any fancy app, just Excel. If you want to use the basic apps that are out there too, great. Okay. What's your take on owning or renting your home? Which option? Which of these do you use, or do you have another way you handle your housing?
Yeah, okay. So currently I'm renting, but obviously hoping to own soon. And
But you, all your real estate. You don't own house, but you want us to do real estate.
have you seen Accra house prices? No, but like, I feel like at the beginning, and you see, like I was saying, have you seen Accra house price? Even land prices in Accra are no joke. Okay, so starting off at the beginning, at a point in time, I feel that decision is about your current circumstances. There is no right or wrong necessarily answer to say, oh, you must own or you must rent. But I feel that definitely home ownership is something that we should all aspire to get to. But in getting there, virtually everybody would have to rent. You understand? Before we are able to get to the home ownership. And the whole process starts with all these things that we've been talking about financial plan and budgeting and everything, because whether you are renting or you are owning a home, you need to put aside resources for that. And if you are going to own, whichever route you are going to use, whether you are going to use a mortgage or you're going to build up your own house or all of that, you still have to go through that process. You see, so it's key that we put our finances in order so that we can be able to get to the point where now we say, okay, I'm now a home owner. Okay, but some people, your unique circumstances will not be able to allow you to own immediately, because probably work has moved you to some city. Like for some of the people who are outside of the country right now, it will take them a while before they can be able to be eligible to maybe take a mortgage or something. And maybe you have gone to outside the country, maybe just to study for 3 years. For that time, owning a home will not even make sense. Okay, so all these circumstances must be taken into consideration in taking the decision, whether you are owning or you are renting.
I feel you. There was one time that I nearly made a mistake to go and start building, get a mortgage and all that. And like you said, if you have plans for education, you can't be making such decisions. Like when it was time for me to move for school year, like I'd have been very busy. Yeah. Okay, good. It's good to know where your head is at on these things. And something that you said that I saw some positive reactions to is the decision to rent or own. It all depends on your personal situation at the time, So yeah, great. You mentioned earlier on about how you funded your master's program, and you were happy that you didn't use debt. So I'm curious, what's your take on debt? Have you ever taken any loans? What's your perspective on loans? Which loans would you ever consider, and under what circumstances?
As for debt, the way I don't like debt. So I'm sure you would have realized this from my conversation. I try to steer away from debt, probably because of the kind of interest regime we have in Ghana. I see that debt is quite expensive in our, generally it's a good tool that can be used for so many things in achieving whatever purpose we need to do. Maybe you are running a business, you need to expand. Obviously, at a point in time, you would have to rely on some kind of debt. So generally, but personally, I don't, the way like I said from the beginning, I always plan ahead as I gave my background, planning ahead to get something. So it has always been part and parcel of me. Getting that is quite difficult for me. Okay, so I don't recall any, especially if we are looking at loans in terms of loans and bank loans and stuff like that. I don't think I have had to go for any to do. I do most of the things with, however, my own money, how I try to run around it. But I think that is good, depending on how it's used. Or it's basically like a two-edged sword. It can cut you wrongly, or it can serve as a catalyst for growth. So I believe that the most important thing is that people should really appraise themselves with what they are going to use the money for and how it will intend to generate bigger returns. Or that's investment that you're going to use it for, in terms of, like, for example, I use the example of a business. If you go take on debt and it is able to bring in more revenues, then that makes sense. But I'm generally the type who is not for consumer debts, especially if it's to do with buying things that will sort of depreciate and not necessarily generate some kind of income for you. Then I will be careful about it. But anything that I can use that will generate some revenues for me, that is fine. I'm open to that. Maybe the only type of consumer one I would say, like, for example, like I mentioned earlier, home ownership. You're trying to own a home and then you go through the debt route, that is through a mortgage. That makes sense. But even that, you'd have to be careful about how you go about it so that you don't end up putting yourself in a situation where you've had people have foreclosures and they've lost their properties and what have you. So these are the things that go through my mind that I think about every time when it comes to
Okay, I see. So you are afraid of loans. Okay. Put aside loans. What other money issues do you fear? Or what's your biggest money fear? And have you overcome it?
I think I think one of my biggest money fear. I think I was thinking about this. I think that it's more to do with maybe having especially in our part of the world, where maybe you end up having a kind of I don't know, is it a money fear? Well, it could be a money fear in a sense that maybe, like, either me or a close family member, it's in some kind of critical sickness or something, that we end up using all the monies that I have spent all my years working for and saving and investing and making noise on Twitter and everywhere about saving and everything. And you end up using it for that. I think that is one of my fears.
Okay. Getting wiped out by some emergency. I see. All right, that's great. Very, very rational fear. And many people don't think about that. So they, like you said earlier, the YOLO. You only live once. But you suffer many, many times before that comes and before the death comes. So you need to plan for that. Okay, great. So I'm curious, right? Going through your journey, it sounds like everything was planned, everything was meticulous, everything went jejely, planned accordingly. But have you ever had any notable challenge that cost you a lot of money or a lot of effort? And can you share that lesson that you learned from it?
Oh, as for managing mistakes there, or let's say managing challenges there, I think there have been a lot. But I think there's one that sometimes I still look back and I wonder how did I do this thing? I was trying to buy land somewhere. And this one, it was my mother who brought that matter up to me. Some cousin was supposed to be cash strapped and needed money. And he was selling some land. I said, me too. I like landed property, so I'll buy. This was when I was in my late 20s. So then I took my hard-earned money, just went to give it to him. Then I didn't even go through all that process of, buying land is not like going to buy tomatoes. You would have to go and ascertain ownership, all those things. Later on, I look back and like, what did I just do? I just carried all the land money, like all the money. I didn't even pay it in installment or something. Just carried everything. Later, the issues that were coming up and Charlie, I don't think I'll do that again.
Wow. So because you didn't follow the due process, do your due diligence, you lost a lot. I'm curious, did you ever get that land back? Or Sikano Ayedi Ashi?
Oh, Chicano and she, but it looks like yeah.
The situation is getting worse and worse.
It has not been yet, because the truth of the matter, I still don't have deed. It's outside of Accra, but I still don't have. So they don't issue titles for it, but I need a deed. But I don't still haven't secured the deed yet. So, So, and the way the last time the story I was hearing, is a story for another day.
Interesting. Okay. So on the flip side, though, that was the worst experience, a really big challenge. What's the best money decision you've made?
Oh, I think one of the best. I think starting the investment club is one of my best money decisions, because it afforded me the opportunity to invest in places I would ordinarily not have been able to carry my money to go and do. Because we pool resources together, we have been able to access bigger investment opportunities and be able to make returns that ordinarily on my own, I can't take my money and go and do that. I think so.
Okay. That's impressive. So pooling funds can get you access that you normally wouldn't get. That's interesting. Okay. All right. When you were talking about the investment club earlier, I was like, nah, I think we need to have a special conversation about investment clubs and investing with friends, family, and so that we see how we can navigate that. We've been touching on that in the conversations that we have with entrepreneurs, but it would be better to even have a more direct conversation. So to the audience, stay tuned. Such a conversation is coming up. You know the do's and don'ts. We have our experts here with close to 10 years of investment club experience. So yeah, looking forward to that conversation. All right. And if along with good decisions, right, what do you think is some of the best advice you've received about either your career or on money? And yeah, what was the best advice you received?
Oh, best advice. I think the best advice I've received about money was at the Ghana Stock Exchange when one of my lecturers, William Mensah, he was talking, and he told us that wealth creation or riches, it's not a function of how much you earn, but a function of how you can consistently save and invest over a long period of time. Something like, I'm just trying to paraphrase what he was saying. And I think that for me was one of the best advice I took. And because I've seen what small, consistent steps can do. Oftentimes we are looking for that one big break. But for a lot of us, we will not have that one break. It will be small, consistent steps that will compound later on in life. And for me, that is one of the best advice I received as concerning money and finances. Yeah.
Okay. That's slow, steady marathon of building wealth compared to waiting for the big break. That's good. How about any bad advice that you are glad you never followed?
Do you know the advice? That advice is a rich dad, poor dad.
Hey. Okay. Controversial opinion loading.
Yes, that's one that, when you finish reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, you feel you have to quit university and then go and start a job, start a company or start some business. I'm glad I don't take that. Look, this Ghana here, the thing about that Rich Dad Poor Dad, what they don't tell you is that those people, some of them, they are trust fund kids who quit their school. And when they started, they blew. And someone like Mark Zuckerberg, the caveats that are in there, the people who were there to support, even the kind of access to maybe kind of funding and things they have, we don't have it here in Ghana. that type of safety net. And some of them had their parents' garages to be able to start with. Some people, they are
we don't get garage.
We don't get garage. So, and that whole concept or notion that everybody has to be an entrepreneur, I feel it's not. I'm glad. For some of us, me, I know myself. I'm not cut out to be that type of person. So everybody in the spectrum of life, everybody will find a space where they can flourish. So the most important thing is to look for that space and flourish within that space. And I think that's it.
That's powerful. Very controversial opinion. I actually side with you on this one because when I look at my transcript and you see second year of university, I got only like 1 or 2 A's, the rest were B's. In fact, second semester, I didn't get a single A. All because I went to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad in first year. And then second year, I was running around being entrepreneurial, doing pack, once in I enter circle, buy cell phone. But, I think that was a great experience, though. It motivated me. I'm glad I changed. And maybe if I didn't perform so poorly in second year, I wouldn't have been motivated to strive for straight A's in the last 2 years to get my first class. Maybe if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have gotten the GPA I got. I'd have just been cruising. But you never know, right? But yeah, I totally agree with you. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur. It sounds like a conversation we've had on Money Convos before. Or was it something we're discussing on the side? But possibly another conversation that we can all have, right? Who will lead? If everybody's leading, who will follow, right? So great. Okay, I'm glad you didn't do that, and I like that you said find your domain that you can flourish in. Okay, so we're gonna start wrapping up soon, right? I think I saw a request. If you don't mind, just DM me the question you have, and I'll slide it in there, and ask them if you have any thoughts you want his perspective on. To anyone who just joined, we have been talking today with Edem, trying to understand his money story. My money story is a conversation that we have every now and then, trying to get people's perspectives, how people face life's challenges, the money side of things, how you handle conversations with the people around you, your family, your friends, looking for a life partner, all these things. And it's good to hear other people's perspectives so that when you are in the position, you have some context, you will have some advice to give yourself. You know how people have done it and it's turned out for them, So some people may be able to relate, some people may not. But over time, as we have more people come and share their stories, I'm sure there'll be something in it for everyone. I guess at this point, I'll just invite someone up I see a request. I could invite Lawrence up. But Edem, while we wait for Lawrence, a thought that I would be asking you about next is if you could change anything, what would you change or what would you do differently in your life? So that will be coming up next. We have Lawrence here. Hi, Lawrence. How you doing?
Yeah, hello. How are you guys?
Great. And you?
I'm good. Edem, for your presentation on the money story. Just have something small to say and then a question to ask. I remember I also started something similar. Unfortunately, unlike Edem, who took it up like for 10 years, I started doing something in, I think, SHS, where I was buying shares in some of these Ghanaian companies. But I think along the line, I just stopped doing that. And I think I should have continued. Maybe by now I would have been a millionaire anyways. One question for you. How, since I think 2017, right? We've had this banking crisis, financial crisis. I was doing, I think, the Beige. I was doing some of those fixed deposit stuff with Beige. And then the whole banking crisis came on board. And I pretty much lost most of I think I got some of the money back, but not everything. So that put me in a position whereby what is the point in investing in Ghana, right? Doing these financial investments in Ghana, because at the end of the day, something could just go wrong where you could lose pretty much your entire money. So we had the Beige, we had most of the other banks, we had the men's gold issues, and then recently the whole government bond issues. How are you able to navigate that? Because frankly, they've put me off investing any money in Ghana, and I prefer to do it in a different country. So what are your, or how were you able to navigate such?
Wow. Anyway, Lawrence was my roommate in first year, so let me add that. Now, as for the issues to do with the financial landscape, it's a big challenge, and honestly, myself, I have been hit hard, and but like I said, small consistent steps pay off in the long run. And you see, for the economic cycle, there's the ups and there's the downs all the time. Okay, so once we are going through this phase, let's just have it in mind that it's not going to be there forever. And what's the alternative? That's what I keep asking myself when we go through this phase. Like, the alternative is to sit back and then you say, okay, well, the times are hard and times are tough, so I won't put my money in it anywhere. And then, but that's where the issue of that, at least you have the opportunity to be able to do it. If you have the opportunity to do it more than one or two geographical locations, that's powerful, because then you are doing geographic diversification. Okay, that means that you are diversifying across different countries, which is actually a way of mitigating your risk. That means you are not exposing yourself to just Ghana and its issues. But for those who don't have the opportunity to diversify across more than one geographical region, I feel that you should still keep doing what we are doing. Gradually, I'm sure we will turn the curve and things will bounce back. If you look at the US stock market history, you would realize that it's a series of bulls and bears. Today you have a bull market, next time you have a bear market or bearish market. So it's never a straight line. So even though right now times are not good, it doesn't look lucrative, but I think this is the time to actually put in these funds. But also, let's watch, let's read, let's be careful where we are allocating our funds. Let's be wary of places. If you can just get some returns that are just okay, I mean, just manageable. And for now, you might even get some returns that are, most of the returns you would get are actually less than inflation or the inflationary rates. And you would have to take it like that. It's better than not being able to get your money at all. Okay, so I think that's one way you can. Let's just keep at it, and then hopefully things will turn the corner, and then we can be able to start reaping the benefits of doing that while people were not investing. Yeah.
I like that take on what is the alternative, right? And when people think about that, it can help inform their decisions. But most importantly, like you said, do your due diligence, investigate, understand some of these things. Thanks for sharing your perspective, Edem. And Lawrence, thank you for sharing or for asking this question for us to get this kind of perspective from Edem. I thought I saw another hand up, but feel free. It seems like Edem, more people want to hear your perspective, so that's great. Yeah. So Edem, I was asking earlier if you could do anything differently, how your life has gone so far. What would that be?
Yeah. I think one of the main things I would do differently is to be more daring. Yeah, more daring. Because, like, should be told, my personality is the laid back, not really taking too many risks. But I think probably I would take a little bit more risk, especially in my younger years, because I mean, come to think of it, you are young, you have time. So yeah, I would have taken more risk and then be able to, or even start earlier. You know, like for myself, like I said, I started after university. If I should do this again, I will start even before JSS. Okay, so that I pursue this thing as I move on throughout my life. So that is one of the things I would do. I would be more daring, and then I would have started earlier.
Okay. More daring and start earlier. That sounds like a good thing to do differently. And I'm sure many people are young enough to start earlier, and they can be a bit more daring. In fact, regardless of your age, if you start today, it's better than waiting to start next year. better than waiting to start 4 years down the line. It's better than waiting till when you actually needed the money. You were talking about earlier about how saving small money. The advice that you got: start small and do it consistently. People say, well, what is 50 CDs a month? What is 100 CDs a month? But there is one day that you will need some 2,000 CDs urgently, and it will be the 100 CDs that you saved over 2 years that will come to your rescue. So think about what Edema said. Start early and be a bit more daring. Okay, great. I'm curious about how you'd attribute your financial health right now. I think I have an idea of what your answer will be, but it will probably not be consistent with any of the things that you've said so far. So let's see what your answer would be to this. What do you attribute to your financial health? Do you think it's luck or grace, or it is hard? It is hard work. Basically, your effort or not your effort. What's it gonna be?
Obviously, hard work is there, but I don't take out the fact I whatever I do, I never negate the fact that God's grace is sufficient on my life. Okay, but I work like a bull. Yeah, if I should borrow in some comments, I work like a bull. So I work hard, and obviously the grace of God is also sufficient. Yeah.
Amen to that. Okay. So there's hard work involved and there's some grace in there. Okay, that's a nice blend. All right, cool. So to wrap it up, wait, I think we have one question. Andrews, welcome upstage. What's your question for Edem? Andrews, if you are speaking, please unmute so that we can hear you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, so thank you very much, and I like the insightful information that my very good friend of I think 18 years and over has shared. I want to know his perspective on treasury bills and joining susu groups, which people, probably they do not have any documentation on, and they are believing in their mutual respect and friendship to pray that at least everybody contributes. And I'm making specific reference to the social groups. What's your perspective on them? Do you think it's something that people should be encouraged to do? That's the second thing. The next thing I would ask is your perspective on building and what you should invest your money in, especially when it comes to land. Should you look at farmland or you should look at residential? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrews. Okay, so first about treasury bills. Treasury bills have always been for anyone within the finance space, that is always our recommendation for anybody who is starting out on investment journey and not knowing what to do. You are always told that, look, put your money in treasury bills. At least it is risk-free. That is what we used to say. And the government will definitely be able to pay you back your interest. But now we've had to revise our notes because we've seen that, hey, the debt exchange program has taught us that even governments can default. But at the moment, the government hasn't defaulted on treasury bills. So it looks like they are good to go. But my only worry is that as at now, the interest rates we are reaching is a bit alarming, because if government could not pay 20% interest rates on bonds and had to restructure, what makes us think that that same government can pay 33% on a 91-day bill? So that is where my mind is right now about treasury bills. Currently, at the moment, the rate at which it is being issued at is alarming for me, because government could not honor 20%, but some way, somehow, it can honor 33%. That economics doesn't make sense to me. So that is the only thing that I think that it might not be a very good situation. But ordinarily, treasury bills are your go-to place to put your monies in. Then, secondly, the issue about Susu groups. Actually, I'm passionate about groupings and things. That's led to me setting up the investment club, like I said. I feel that what we need to do is to go beyond the ordinary Susu that people just contribute and give to one person, and then in turn, the next person takes it on rotation. I didn't, from my understanding of what I know about finance and then time value of money, I didn't think it was the best approach or the best use of your money. And that is why I thought that we had to go beyond just contributing and say, you take, and then the next one I'm taking, the next one I'm taking, to pulling our resources together and then investing it. So probably we should be looking at going beyond just Susu, but getting to the point where we, like in some places, they have cooperative societies, even here in Ghana. So a number of fishermen or a number of dressmakers, a number of mechanics will come together, pool their monies together, and they use it to invest in their businesses to expand. In South Africa, they have something, I've forgotten, I think, it's called a stock veil. Okay. And they are very powerful. They control a huge amount of money collectively. And so I think that for us in Africa, this is one of our major ways we can lift each other up out of poverty if we can come together as groups. Because look, the disadvantages that we suffer in this part of the world as individuals, it will be very hard for us to be able to pull ourselves out. But if we can come together, we can use those things. And people have also gone beyond and then gone to the point where they've registered credit unions, which are able to help. But all these things are structured and well laid out. So I feel that if people come together, that is why financial education is very important. Financial literacy is very important. Everybody needs to understand and know and be able to buy into the vision and think long term. That's the only way we are able to put ourselves together and pull ourselves out of the poverty cycle. Then the last one, you also mentioned about whether farmland or real estate. With financial advice, everything is relative and is also determined about the specific point in time when that decision is being taken. Because today, it might make sense to buy this particular piece of land for a real estate, but tomorrow it will not make sense. And also maybe buying a piece of land in cantonment to use for farm may not make economic sense. But if I'm buying maybe some few acres of land, maybe let's say around Shire Hills or something for farm, it might make sense. So there are a lot of dynamics that come into play in making that decision of whether this is economically viable or this is not economically viable, or this makes sense, or this will give me the returns that I want.
Those are some good questions. Thank you for asking those, and nice to hear Edem's perspectives. Sounds like we again, the planning and the thoughtfulness, all the references to other cooperatives in South Africa and things, it's well thought out. We appreciate you, Edem, for coming here, opening up, sharing your perspectives, telling us about your history, the mistakes you've made, some of the good decisions. It's been a good lesson. I hope somebody has learned something from this. And as we are planning our week, we have some energy, some motivation to go through this. Well, to wrap it up, I'm just curious, what advice would you give your younger self? Or not just your younger self, anyone else listening to this?
Oh, yes. Especially, I'm also passionate about young people. So when you say younger self, then I also look at some of the younger people, those who are now probably in the university or just coming out. Some of the things I would say is like, start now. They say the best time to plant an oak tree was, 20 years ago? The next best time is now. So if you couldn't have started already, or you've started something, but it's looking like this thing doesn't look it doesn't look like it can work, but just move with it. One thing I've also come to learn is not to despise small beginnings. So today it's looking like it's just a few CDs and a few pesos you are putting aside. The most important thing is, are you being consistent? Are you being dedicated to it? Are you pursuing it? And then another thing is that be hungry for knowledge. If I can understand finance and be talking about and be hosted on Money Convos, be talking about my money story, you can do it too. Because I had several knowledge about money. I look, you should have met me 10 years, 15 years ago. You would have seen that, no. But today, at least if I tune into news, I'm able to understand what is going on. Okay, so make knowledge acquisition your friend also. I spent a lot of time reading on Investopedia, going online, taking a course on Coursera, all these kinds of things, especially as a young person. Now I want to do some of these things, and then I didn't know that when you're on the third floor, it is very difficult to learn like that. Then now we are also looking at getting towards the fourth floor, then it will be even much more difficult. So please, if you are a younger person, this is the time to be hungry for knowledge and then pursue those small baby steps. You will be glad and you would look back and you thank yourself that you did that. So that would be my 2 cents for anyone who is now starting out and now going to begin the process.
That's powerful. Start early and be hungry for knowledge. Try to learn as much as possible. That's great. Thank you, Edem, once again for opening up to talk to us this Sunday evening. To anyone who's listening to this, I encourage you to follow us here on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, Instagram. If you want to listen to this audio playback or any other conversation that we've had, go to wherever you listen to your podcast and search for Money Convos. You can also search on YouTube. You'll find our videos or the video version of our audio there. You can play it back at your convenience. So yeah, don't miss out on this kind of information. Also, when you get on Instagram, follow at investment_friend. There we give more direct information about that will suit your personal circumstances. There are a lot of challenges that go on there. Serum and Mimi do provide some really exciting content there. Say whether it's a savings challenge or emergency fund challenge, or they provide some stock tips. Information that will be more tailored to you and your individual circumstances, rather than just over here at Money Convos, we do more generic, or not, I wouldn't say generic, more general information. Sometimes you want someone to assist you based on your circumstances. So again, on Instagram at investment_friend. Go there, follow, and all these resources that we are showing you, Money Convos and Investment Friend, share it with other people such that in 5-10 years to come, a lot more people around you would be financially independent and you have less of a burden on you, and we'll all grow and be better off for it. Thank you once again, Edem, and thank you all for making the time this weekend. I wish you a productive week ahead, and I hope you can start planning as arduously as Edem and take the baby steps and be consistent. It's a marathon, not a sprint. All right then. Have a great week. Catch you next week, same time next weekend. Bye.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our thoughts. I hope you learned a thing or two and start practicing. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, and Facebook. And subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. Do tell a friend about Money Convos so we all become wealthy together. Talk to you soon. Bye.